welcome to another episode of the Your Money Matters podcast. I am Bruce, and I am your host for the Your Money Matters podcast. Welcome back. I am so happy to have you here. I'm so excited to get this second episode in. So today I'm going to talk about debt. I wish I could do some echoing on that. I'm going to do the debt episode early because I get a lot of questions about debt. Also, I'm going to add some Ask Me Anything in there because I'm getting questions from my social media sites that I'm so excited to answer for those people that ask them. So, the dreaded word, debt. It is something that plagues our country, and it is something that everybody has dealt with at one point or another. Now, I want to be clear that when I give people advice about money, that acquiring debt on anything other than a home is never something that I advise. Acquiring debt on anything, with the exception of a home, is not something I ever suggest. And the reason I make the exception for a home is because a home is a safe and stable asset that is an appreciating asset. It goes up in value. And I think that there are smart ways to go about acquiring a mortgage on a house, and there are very unsmart methods of acquiring a mortgage. So for instance, and this is something I'll get into on a later episode, but a 15-year fixed rate conventional loan is the cheapest way to finance a house. It's much better than a 30-year because there's a lower interest rate and the payoff term is half the time that a 30-year is. And I know most people say, well, the payment is higher, which it definitely is. But if you compare side by side the mortgages based on the interest rate and the monthly payment, you will find a very small difference in the actual monthly payment that is required for a 15-year over and above the 30-year. I know some people will disagree with me about the fact that homes go up in value and that they're appreciating assets. And I think a lot of those people went through the real estate crisis of 2008 and 2009, and you have a very valid point. But what I will say is that the reason I still am okay, and I'm not going to be mad at you if you get a mortgage, I have a mortgage on a house, is because I'm going to say 90% of the time the asset goes up in value over a long period of time. So again, that's another episode, mortgages and real estate, but I want to get into the specifics of debt in general, why it's bad, and why you should stay away from it. I want to talk about why debt is bad from a math point of view, and also why debt is bad from a risk point of view and a future goal hitting point of view, mostly. I think we could talk for hours about debt and its implications and how it works. But I think what I would like you to take away from this is the reason why avoiding debt is so important. So let me start with some statistics on the debt that our country currently carries. Get ready for this. Our country is in $20 trillion of national debt. Now that is debt that is due to other countries, money that is borrowed to do things here in our country that is borrowed from places other than here, which is scary. We are currently in $1.4 trillion in student debt, which is debt acquired on college educations. And we are also currently in $12.73 trillion in consumer debt. That's credit cards, car debt, and other consumer methods of acquiring debt. So it is clear that our country is one that is not afraid to mortgage our future for current wants and quote-unquote needs. I think that the free nature in which we acquire debt on things in this country is a huge concern. I, for one, don't think that I can quite control the government acquiring more debt on the country's behalf. So I feel like I'm a little powerless in that regard. As far as student debt, I went to college and didn't pay a dime for it because I was able to work hard and acquire scholarships to fund my entire nursing degree. In fact, I had so many scholarships. There's so much money out there, guys. I had so many scholarships that every semester I got a check cut to me directly to just put in my pocket for living expenses. Now that is in no way meant to come across as braggadocious, but I think that if people knew that there were scholarships and grants available out there for people, when all you have to do is write an essay or get good grades or do some community service to earn it, I think that it would diminish the amount of people that would borrow on their entire education. So let's talk about the definition of debt at its very simplest. Debt is money owed to another person or institution that is given to you for a certain length of time and expected to be paid back. And during the length of time that that person or company loans you money, they expect interest to be paid. And when you sign your name to that dotted line and agree to acquire this debt, that is a legally binding contract that you owe them that money. Now, I think the way that we look at debt is not harsh enough, because these people and companies are not loaning you money because they care about you. They're loaning you money because it's a business opportunity, and the business they're in is having money, loaning it to people, and collecting interest on that money. So it is not something that is done out of the goodness of their heart. So I think we need to take a little bit of a harsher standpoint on debt and really realize that the person acquiring the debt is truly a slave to the lender. So now that we know the basic definition of debt, why is it bad? I'm going to use my favorite example of why debt is bad, the car payment. Car payments are the bane of my existence. And the reason is, whenever I talk to people about money, I ask them, how much debt do you have? They'll list off credit cards or maybe student loans because those things are forefront in their mind. But a lot of people fail to mention that, I have a car payment, I have a lease, etc. Those are both forms of debt. And it is dangerous that in our culture that we do not perceive having a car payment as being in debt. Contrary to what we believe, not everybody has a car payment, and it is not a way of life. I understand wanting to have nice things. I understand wanting to look fly when you roll up to the club, but at what cost? And I think people see that monthly payment and, my car payment's only $250, or my car payment's only $400, and I can afford that. Man, is that a dangerous way of thinking. So let me show you some math on why debt on a car is bad. This is just the most notorious example because of how heavily a car depreciates in such a short amount of time of ownership. Depreciation means to lose value. It's when your asset over time loses value. This is the opposite of appreciation, in which an asset that you own goes up in value. So things like mutual funds, houses, some collectibles are appreciating assets, while clothes, shoes, cars especially are depreciating assets. So let's take a look at some math. Let's say you bought a car for $30,000 with a 6-year term loan at 7.5% interest. At the end of that 72 months, you have $37,346.64 into that car. You have paid $7,346 more dollars for that car that is only worth $30,000. So you're paying 24% more for that car had you bought it in cash. Let's talk about it a little further. At the end of this payment term, which is 72 months, that car is only worth $13,737. That depreciation rate that I mentioned earlier has eaten away at the value of that car. On average, cars depreciate at approximately 60% of their value in the first 4 years of ownership. So when you buy a brand new car, you are financing that loss in equity of the car during that first 4 years of ownership. Now that is a scary fast way to lose money. So let's go back to that math we talked about. So you paid $37,346.64 for that car that you bought that was originally priced at $30,000. So we already know that you overpaid by $7,346 by purchasing that new car with financing and having to pay interest on that debt. But now, at the end of your term, you own the car outright, but that car is only worth $13,737. So in the 6 years that it took you to pay off that car, you have effectively turned $37,000 into $13,000. And if someone that makes a normal wage, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year, if every 6 years you turn $37,000 into $13,000, you will find it very difficult to build wealth when you buy such a heavily depreciating asset and literally lose that money every 6 years. So my suggestion to people when I speak to them about buying a car is to save the cash to buy a car that is approximately 3 model years old with low mileage. With the durability of cars that are made these days, this will get you a nearly new car for the price that has already taken that huge hit of depreciation on the first 3 to 4 years that it has existed. So let's go another step forward here and talk about what you could do with that money had you not put it into a car every month. So the average car payment in America as of May of 2017 is $479 a month. So if you take that money every month, invest it over the term of your loan, which is what we discussed, 6 years, at an interest rate of 8%, at the end of your 6-year term, you would have $45,540. So the same person that took that car payment and invested it now has an asset worth $45,000, and the person that bought the car has an asset that is worth $13,000. So what I want you guys to take away from this episode is the reason why debt is bad. I think everyone is aware debt is bad because it has such a negative connotation on the word, but I think that the way our culture accepts debt as a normal part of life, it makes us more willing to ignore the math that is associated with the decisions that we're making to borrow this money. So the other part of this is, as you're making these monthly payments, the monthly payment is cutting into your income. Your income is your single greatest wealth building tool. So when it is all wrapped up in payments, like we have just illustrated with the previous example of the car, when it's tied up in payments, your income that is coming in every month is going to an asset that is decreasing in value. And when you purchase things that are constantly going down in value, you are losing the value of the money that you work so hard for. And I think this is a trap that a lot of people fall into as well, is that they do work so hard. And I hear from people that say, I deserve to buy this new car, or I deserve to buy this thing, this widget, whatever it is. And yes, you do deserve more, but you deserve to be putting that hard-earned money into assets that will make you more money rather than lose that money that you worked for. And financing things that go down in value is the best way to make sure that your income escapes your home and never comes back. So let's talk about paying off debt. Paying off debt is obviously necessary in order to become debt-free. But how do you pay off debt? Now, there is 2 schools of thought: the snowball method and the avalanche method. Let me start with the avalanche method because it is not the method that I prefer. The avalanche method is that you take your debts and put them in order, greatest to smallest interest rate, and you pay off the highest interest rate debt first. Now, from a purely math standpoint, this makes complete sense because mathematically it works out that you will pay the lowest amount of interest over the length of all of your loans. Now, where it becomes difficult is that your highest interest loan may be your highest balance. So it may take you 2 to 3 years to pay off this debt. And during that time, you could get very taxed and you could lose focus while paying off that loan. So alternatively, there is the debt snowball method, and it is the method that I teach people in which to pay off debt. So in the debt snowball method, you take your lowest to highest balances and order them accordingly. So your lowest balance goes first, your second lowest balance goes second, etc. Interest rates in this method are irrelevant, and here's why. When you have the ability to pay off 2 to 3 to 4 of your smallest debts in a short amount of time, it gives you momentum. When you are able to scratch off those numbers from your debt snowball list, it gives you some mental strength that with the avalanche method you may not have. And that momentum and that strength that you gain paying off those loans early, those smaller debts, will carry you through to pay off that big student loan or that big car loan or that big home equity line of credit. And that momentum is the thing that is going to carry you through and keep you on the plan. So if you're someone out there that is interested in paying off your debts and you have multiple debts and are having trouble managing them, I would encourage you to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, to get the specifics of the debt snowball, and it's something that really you can just Google and get the specifics on. But I would encourage you, if you need help, if you need someone to help guide you through this process, just reach out to me. I would be glad to do it absolutely free of cost. Do not be a part of the American mantra of, I can afford the payment. And do not confuse the facade of the appearance of wealth with success. And let's take a look at that, because I think that our culture really, on Instagram and on Facebook and all these places, that you get instant gratification and see the success of other people. Success is measured differently based on who you are, but we look at these pictures of the cars and the vacations and the things that are purchased by our friends and by the people we barely even know and probably don't even like. And I think that in our subconscious, because it is the way our culture works, we feel like we need to acquire those things. We need to do those things because in that picture, they look like they're having fun. In that time they went to this place, they had fun, and I need that in my life because I'll feel better. Let me tell you what you will feel better about, and that is absolutely doing those things and exceeding your wildest dreams with the things that you can do, but do it when you can afford it. The worst thing after getting home from a vacation is having that hangover when you see your credit card bill and realize, I cannot pay for this. It is the way of the American society to value appearance and materials over true financial security. And just like success, true financial security is measured much differently based on who you speak of and what their goals are. But I will assure you that purchasing cars that you cannot afford, going on vacations that you cannot pay for, is not the way to financial security by anybody's measurement. So my goal is to help you navigate the things that you want to do in your life, the things that your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, kids want to do in your life, but do it in the smartest and most effective way possible, so that when you get home, you don't have that month-long hangover realizing that what you did, while fun, is now ruined because you cannot pay for it, and it will be on a credit card charged accruing interest for years to come. So like I mentioned earlier, please feel free to reach out to me on any of the social media platforms that I have. That is the forum that I want people to be able to reach out and ask questions freely, and I will answer them on this podcast, online. I want to help you. That is my goal, to provide you with free and valuable content always. Now, let's get into a small Ask Me Anything section. I have a couple questions that I received online that I'd like to answer. So our first question on the Your Money Matters podcast is from Duo on a Dime at Instagram.com. They say, can you explain the difference between a 401k and a Roth IRA? And when one is better than the other? My company offers both. So Duo on a Dime, I love both of these methods of saving for retirement. And let me just define both of them really quick so I can answer the question better. So a 401k actually gets its name from a line in the tax code. It is section 401, subsection K of the hundreds of thousands of pages of what consists of our tax code. But basically what it is allows our gainfully employed citizens to have a employer-sponsored retirement plan in which pre-tax money is saved, and the employer has the ability to match those contributions on a pre-tax basis. So this is the most common way people save for retirement, and it has a lot of benefits, but it is limited in one major way. The benefits consist of saving pre-tax money and also lowering your taxable income, which is important because then you pay less taxes. You pay less taxes now, but then when you take the money out, 100% of the contributions and the gains and dividends that money has accrued over the life of your career is taxable. So you are going to be taxed on all of the money that you have saved throughout your career, which could be in the millions of dollars, and hopefully is by the end of the time that you've been working so hard. So let's look at the Roth IRA. So the Roth IRA came about in the 80s, and it actually allowed people to save post-tax money into an account that grows tax-free forever. So the advantage here is that you've already paid taxes on the money that you are inserting into this account. And if you are under 55 years old, you can put $5,500 into this account. So $5,500 a year may not sound like a lot because the max for the 401k is $18,000, but the benefit of this money is that it grows tax-free forever. So I'm not going to get too in depth. I am going to make an entire episode regarding this retirement planning, 401k, Roth IRA subject, but I wanted to answer your question. My answer is both. You should have both, and there is a place for both of them. So I would definitely suggest you max out your Roth IRA every single year for you and your spouse if you have one, without question. And also contribute at least the match to your 401k. Like I said, I'm going to make an entire episode about this, so stay tuned for that answer. Our next question comes from Stephanie on Facebook. She says, what's the best type of account to save for our baby? I know there are other options than a traditional savings account. Absolutely. There are two major options, and it really depends on the purpose of the money. So if you were just saving for a general savings and a future type savings, I would suggest a UTMA, Universal Trust to Minors Act account. And if you go to Vanguard.com, you can open up one of those, and this is a post-tax brokerage account that you can save for your son or daughter, and that when they become 18, that account becomes theirs. So you open it with their social security number and their information, but you are the custodian of that account until they're 18. Now, if you want to save for education, a 529 account is my suggestion to save for college. A 529 account is something that you put tax-deductible money into. That money grows tax-free and is tax-free upon withdrawal as long as it's used for education purposes. Now, if you get that money invested in really high-quality mutual funds or ETFs and grows at a 8 to 10% clip over the time that it takes your child to be born and to go to college at 18 or 19 years old, you could have $100,000 in that account or more. So that's all the time I have for today for Ask Me Anything. But I want to hear your questions. Keep sending me things, keep asking, keep wanting to learn, because I promise you I will answer your questions. My goal, once again, is to provide you with free and valuable content always. So we're on Facebook, facebook.com/YourMoneyMatters365. We're on Instagram, instagram.com/YourMoneyMatters. We're on YouTube. Search our name. We're one of the top 3 results. Get on there, subscribe, check out our videos. Guys, get engaged. I'm so excited to serve you and give you this valuable content. Once again, I am Bruce, and you're listening to the Your Money Matters podcast. Have an awesome week.